Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tip Radio, where we celebrate world's most accomplished, influential, and inspirational professionals who are truly making a difference globally. I'm Michelle McLean, your host for the show, and our guest today is nothing short of exceptional. Joining us is IAOTP's honoree, who has over 3 decades of experience as a recognized authority in government finance. Her most recent position was serving as finance director for Mono County, California, overseeing auditor, controller, and treasurer tax collector. Everyone, please welcome the incredible Janet Dutcher, recognized for her outstanding leadership, dedication, and impact in the government finance industry. Welcome, Janet. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Wow. So I got to meet you in Las Vegas in December at the gala event. And for our listeners around the world, tell us a little bit more about your trajectory of your career. Amazing accomplishments.
Yeah. This story is going to come full circle towards the end of this interview. But originally, I hadn't planned on going to college. I was tired of school and studying and lessons and all that, and I just wanted to travel around. But at some point, enrolled in like a community college. I don't come from a family that has a lot of resources. My dad was in the military. My mom didn't work. We had food. We had presents at Christmas. Our clothes were all handmade. So there wasn't a lot of resources to go to a university. So I was an art major. And at some point, an art professor pulled me aside and said, while I might have talent, I don't have patience. And so I should find another career. And that career that I found was in accounting. And I love it. I can do magic with debits and credits, with financial reporting. So I decided I was going to be a CPA, a certified public accountant, even though I didn't really know what that means. And so my career has not been from deciding this is what I'm going to be when I grow up. It's been wherever it takes me, looking for opportunities and taking advantage of them and then embracing them almost obsessively. And so I passed the CP exam. There's 5 parts. It took, back then, you actually took it in person for 3 days in a row. And you weren't allowed to use calculators. You had to come with your pencil. They would give you papers and they watched you the whole time. And about 3 months later, I had an envelope arrive in the mail. And my mom grabs it and she says, "It's not that, so you must have passed." And so I opened it up and I passed all 5 parts. Some like right at 75. I think I on the practice session, I got an 88, and that was the highest. From there, I went to work for a CPA firm that does government auditing, and the partner picked me up at my house on the first day of work. And we drove up to Mendocino, and my first engagement was to do an audit of a transit system that had horrible books. We couldn't figure out what was an asset, what the revenues were, and we had to kind of piece that together before we could start auditing. Well, fast forward, for the first 2.5, 3 years of my career, I became an expert in auditing transportation funds here in California. So you think of public transit, and there's a revenue stream that's used to provide those services. And we would come in, we were required to do an annual audit, and every 3 years we did a performance audit. And so I became the expert. I think at one point, we, out of the 52 counties in California, we were auditing more than 30 of them. And so you can imagine that I spent a good deal of my career out on the road. I was single. All our meals were paid for. I was the only woman, so I got my own room. And so it was really exciting. And I got to visit some places in California that, while they might have tourist attractions, what we got to know was the best places to eat and the best places to stay, and then meeting people in all of these other governments that we have that they're just normal people, right? And a lot of them have this mindset of providing public service. I kind of did a sidetrack for a while. I did pretty heavy duty taxes for at least 10 years before I got back into government auditing. I have it's been the experience that we've done helping a proprietary manage his finances to pay the lowest, not to evade taxes, but to pay the lowest taxes legally available. At some point, a partner said, wouldn't it be great on our government audits if we could automate it using a computer? And so my career has been built not on people that I follow, or you open up the book and step one is this, step two is this, step three is this. It's been taking challenges like that. Let's automate the financial statement preparation of our audits with a computer. I said, I think I can do that. And so I did it. And it's the clients and the experiences of the things that you accomplish by using technology and taking a problem and solving it that has led me to where I am. Eventually, I got back into government auditing. I audited probably more than half the counties that are here in California, and also the Reno Redevelopment Agency and the Henderson down in Las Vegas redevelopment agency. And with that exposure, I got exposed to, like, government follows all the same rules. We collect taxes, we pay people, we provide services, but every single jurisdiction I went to was uniquely different. And getting to know organically how their organization worked, what their culture was, what their systems were, and the people that were there. And at some point, I decided I think I was close to 50 years old. I said, I'm tired of working 60 hours a week and traveling all over the place. And I knew at that point it was time to get out. And so I went to work as doing finances for Alpine County, which is the smallest county in California. And that was a lot of fun because being the smallest county, you only have 100 employees. You're up in the mountains. It's beautiful. I used to have bears visit my office every week. And yeah, so, one of my memories is the sheriff coming in and chasing the bear away so that I could work on the budget. But that's where I got into budgeting.
Yeah.
Because as an auditor, I mean, it's just a side note, and I realized that budgeting speaks this whole different language. In fact, they were kind of handicapped because they would refer to things. I said, well, that's not what it's called. It's called this, because I was technically trained, and so each budget had its own story every year as to the money we had and didn't have, the things that people wanted to spend it on and we didn't have money for it, and working with elected officials on how to put these numbers together on the page to say, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, but we're not going to do that, we're not going to do that. And so at Alpine County, I did that for a couple of years. Did some technology improvements, creating a paperless system for invoice processing. And a good friend of mine and colleague, Leslie Chapman, I had met her at a conference, and she says, hey, we're looking for a finance director. And it was a lot more money, a lot more responsibility, even though it was a lot further away. It was like an hour and a half through canyons and mountain roads. And so I applied and I got the job. And, one of the best bosses I've ever had in my, 40 years of doing this has been Leslie Chapman. And the reason is because I wasn't treated like somebody that you give orders to. You say, I need this. I want you to go do this. We worked side by side, and she listened to my ideas. And we kind of had this, like, really organic laboratory of trying things to see how they would work. And so I finished out my career in October at Mono County. I realized that it was time to, go do other things. I have a family here. I have my mom that lives with me. I have a autistic, highly functioning autistic 35-year-old adult that sometimes is like taking care of a child. But I have so many memories. I was thinking about it as we were preparing for this interview, this podcast. I have so many experiences that it's those experiences that I remember. It's not the promotions. It's not this position versus this position. It's the experiences of going in and doing something. I worked. I did an audit of an agency in California where, so there was a lawsuit on tobacco revenue that created a revenue stream for counties. And so we securitized that revenue stream by issuing bonds and then taking that lump sum money from issuing bonds and doing something with it, building a clinic, doing something that's related to helping people stop smoking or health related, because that's where the revenue is coming through. And so I got to audit this agency that has all these bonds that are issued and arbitrage, and it was so complex but so interesting and challenging. And there are tons of other experiences. My first budget, I walked in brand new, pretending like I knew what I was doing, and the sheriff like poking his finger in my chest saying, "You're expendable. I can get rid of you right this minute." And trying to intimidate me so that I would give him that money. And that experience is what led me, eventually I went and got my master's in public administration, because as a finance director, you're really challenged to, I mean, you could be the best accountant in the world, and I could do all kinds of things. I knew how to do these financial reports and how
Mhm.
to write footnotes and how to process transactions and do financial reporting. But I have never worked directly with political elected officials who make the decisions. And so I went back and got my master's in public administration, and I enjoyed it so immensely. And,
Well,
and
that's what I was
enjoyment's
going to
probably,
ask you, Janet. You have been now honored by the International Association of Top Professionals, and you're the director, the top director of the year in finance and empowered woman of the year, which is a
yeah.
tremendous accomplishment. This year, you've also been honored, and your selection for the top 50 fearless leaders. So, besides, you've shared with us your story. What has been the highlight of your career? I mean, there have been so many experiences.
There are, and I think the most memorable one is, Mono County decided we were going to build our own civic center that would house county offices under one roof. Previously, they had been renting facilities from a landlord, and that required issuing debt, issuing bonds. And so we hired, people to help walk us through it. And that person I mentioned, Leslie Chapman, we went to San Francisco. We went to the 10th floor in the financial district, and before these people from S&P, and told our story. So this is who Mona County is. This is what our finances are. This is what our challenges are. These are what the risks are. And we convinced them to give us a high enough bond rating that we didn't have to buy bond insurance. We got the lowest interest rate and the cost of issuance that we could have. And then on the day that we issued our bonds, it was on the public market back in New York.
Mhm.
And we sat and watched on the screen our bonds sell. And it was so exhilarating to know that the third smallest county in California, not having enough resources, could issue $20 million of bonds and build. And we built a beautiful civic center. So here is finance, which usually never meets the public, sits in the back room, Nobody knows who we are. You might see my name on your paycheck, but you don't really know what we do. Nobody understands what we do. When we talk about it, their eyes just kind of glazed over. And here we are being the critical link that issues the bonds, that gives us the resources, that builds the civic center that people can come to in the community to interact and get services done by their government. And it's a really good illustration of the public finance realm.
Well, you've really, really enlightened me today because, yes, as you say, the layman wouldn't know what you're
Yeah,
doing behind the scenes.
yeah.
Now, what would you say with your perseverance and just your commitment to your career? What advice could you give to professionals that want to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, I would say, our job as accountants, whether you're in public finance or you're in, corporate world, in auditing or working for a CPA firm, our we're like attorneys, we're professionals. And so your technical skills, your technical knowledge, your ability to know how things work is critical. And I have spent, 40 years reading obsessively and learning things so that when I got into a position where I was no longer the person doing the work, I was the person managing the work, I then had the opportunity to pass on what I know to others. And I have several people in my career who I have taken from right out of college or brand new and taught them things. And might even be things they never thought they would be capable of doing. And so I've spent the last probably 15 years really teaching people to do what I do. And so I would advise everybody to read as much as you can, learn as much as you can about the rules, be curious, ask questions, and never ever assume that you know the answer, right? Be open to hear what the different dialogues are around a problem so that you're not putting up these roadblocks for yourself that then block off some creative solutions that you might be able to uncover.
I mean, that's fascinating and wonderful advice. So I hope all our listeners have been glued to this interview. Now, for Janet, what are your new goals and aspirations for the future? You must have a lot that you still want to.
Okay, so you remember when I first I'm sorry I interrupted you. I told you this would come full circle. So right out of high school, I wanted to do art. That's all. I just wanted to, sit in the back room and sketch and draw. And so I went and enrolled in college to be an art major. I'm doing art. I
Do you
retired in
still do
October.
art? Do you still
No,
do
I,
art?
I haven't done it for 40 years.
Oh, well, it's never too late.
Yeah. So like I'm embracing this new artwork called urban sketching. I don't do it. I don't go out and do it in public. I take pictures and then do it that way. Or I'm following some artists online, but I'm really spending sketches and watercoloring and pen and ink. And so I'm doing artwork that I haven't done. That was going to be my career. And instead, I went into another career that then enabled me to retire and be able to do artwork, full time now. I have a couple of speaking engagements. I spoke at the Northern Nevada Association of Government Auditors here in Reno in January. I spoke again at the end of February at a California conference with about 1,500 people. And I am participating in a 1 day session through a CPA firm who's doing an educational day for their clients, and it'll also be online. So that'll be next month. That'll be early next month. And so I will probably continue to pursue writing articles with Government Finance Officers Association like I've done in the past, and also the various speaking engagements. I'm slated to come back to Northern AGA, Association of Government Auditors, to speak with them. And then I have high hopes of, the one thing when I left the CPA firm and went to work for government as an employee, I got into budgeting, and what I found is that there really aren't a lot of resources to help you know what the decision making process is for doing budgets. And so I'd like to write a budget manual for specifically for California counties, taking what I know and just talking about the whole impact that budget has and the different ways that you can do it and the different models out there, so that people that are brand new to this have some kind of foundation to go, some tool to go into to help them make decisions rather than trial and error that results in constant change in their budget cycle.
Well, that makes so much sense. And wow, I'm sure all our members and listeners are wanting to get hold of you because, like me, I need to really, really understand the whole tax business. For a layman, it is very, very it's overwhelming, put it that way. So, how do our listeners
Yes,
and our members
yes.
get hold of you, Janet?
Probably the easiest way is through LinkedIn. I have a page, or whatever they call it, for LinkedIn out there that has my email address and my cell phone number. And email is probably the best, janetlDutcher@gmail.com.
Well, that's wonderful, Janet. I've had so much fun chatting to you today, and I look forward to seeing you at the next gala. Are you going to be joining us for the soiree in Nashville or at the India gala?
Well, I am. I bought my ticket yesterday.
Oh, fantastic.
right before the deadline expired.
Oh, well, good. And now you've got your cowboy boots, your cowboy hat, and we're ready to dance.
Yeah, I am. I just got to get there, so which
Okay.
shouldn't be too difficult.
Well, I'm going to take you aside and get a little bit more information on tax from you.
Sure.
So. But thank
Well,
you
it's been
for
nice
joining us
talking to you.
today.
Yeah.
You too, Janet. And to all our listeners out there and our members, thank you for joining Tip Radio, where we showcase professionals from around the world, really sharing their stories of inspiration and success. So thank you for joining, and hopefully you will join us next time soon.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers, Janet.